What a game. What a series. The Edmonton Oilers pull clutch again. Holy cow, is this entertaining for everybody that isn't having a heart attack on either side in Edmonton or Calgary. The Battle of Alberta has lived up to the hype. The Oilers take a commanding 3-1 series lead on the back of 4 goals. Their third line, riding Nugent-Hopkins, gets to play the hero, Tyson, Barrie, Kailer, Yamamoto. What a game. Calgary Flames with a big comeback, but it's not enough. And if you're the Calgary Flames, you have nobody else to blame except the goalie, the players, and the coach.
Oh, I see. Then everything is wrapped up in a neat little package. Really, I mean that. Sorry if it sounded sarcastic.
So yes, I guess everything's wrapped up in a nice little package with that one, because at the end of the day, you can pick if you want to say Markstrom is the reason you're losing. You can pick and you could say Daryl Sutter's getting outcoached by Jay Woodcroft. You can pick and say the players and the entire team of the Calgary Flames have not shown up to play. And you can pick the fact that the Edmonton Oilers are just beating the Calgary Flames. They've put them in a fit. They've backed them against a corner, and they are all but awaiting the final blow. Although there is a little bit of series left to be played, so let's talk about it. The Edmonton Oilers start hot again, and when this team has confidence, they are nearly unstoppable. 3 unanswered goals by the Oilers to start this one. Markstrom flopping around like a fish, playing the puck, putting it into the wrong spots. Calgary with no confidence whatsoever in their play. The first period ends 3-0 Edmonton, and it looks like a dagger. But then all of a sudden, the march and the second period and the calmness of the Calgary Flames starts to come back. They make a game of it, turn it 3-2 going into the third. An errant puck from their own zone ends up beating Mike Smith, who gets snickered here at this point. Calgary Flame fans are giggling. The memes are flying. The Smith chants are starting. And then it's Tyson, Barrie, Kailer, Yamamoto, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins that put the dagger in there for Calgary, as Calgary basically tries to take out all of the teeth of the Edmonton Oilers player there at the end. That is a terrible, terrible penalty by Calgary. Completely undisciplined. Look, you heard me say it in the Leafs series. You've heard me say it in many series. You got to control your stick. It doesn't matter if it's accidental. You cannot take a double minor or even a single minor with 2 minutes and 40 seconds left down by 1. Would that have made a difference? Maybe, maybe not, but just an absolutely terrible penalty to play. So the Toronto Maple Leafs had to learn a lesson by losing to the Tampa Bay Lightning, taking 2 high sticking calls in Game 6 and losing that one. And unfortunately, this high sticking call, totally a correct call. I mean, the poor guy is picking up his teeth, may end up costing Calgary the series. And hats off to Edmonton. Wow, Jay Woodcroft has these guys flying. And the Oilers fans are sitting there thinking, can anybody actually stop us now? Because we are on a roll, led by the best player in the world right now, and Connor McDavid. He's reached a new level. Draisaitl is on fire. There is a lot to unpack in this game from a skill perspective. So excellent work. Excellent job by Edmonton. Calgary, very simple. They're not playing their game. There's 2 things that I'm seeing here. Number 1, they are allowing the top 6, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, to cause them fits. They are so worried about covering the first line of the Edmonton Oilers that they're just not playing their own game. That is very apparent. And is that coaching? Is that the players? Could be a little from column A, could be a little from column B, but either way, not impressive by the Calgary Flames. Connor McDavid has flipped them right onto their heels. He has led that top 6. Absolutely dynamite. And there's a lot of comparisons going on between McDavid and Gretzky right now. One of the best ones I saw is, I'll consider McDavid Gretzky when he starts elevating those around him. That wasn't from me. That's just a comment coming from social media. And I'm wondering, looks like he's elevating those around him right now, because this team has hit a new level. And I'm starting to wonder too, can anybody beat the Edmonton Oilers? We had the Calgary Flames in 7, but hey, when you're wrong, you're wrong. You're not going to go perfect in a bracket. We don't have a sports almanac here. So Edmonton, a wonderful surprise for those outside of Edmonton. Edmonton fans saw this coming all along. They've been watching their team all year. They're dialed in. They know they have the best player in the world in McDavid. They have number 2 in Draisaitl in their minds. They have a hot Mike Smith. And we said, hey, when Smitty's at the top of the roller coaster, he's excellent. And he was super hot in this first period. But when the cracks in the armor start to show, the confidence in Mike Smith can wane. And when his confidence is gone, then a couple errant goals end up going in. But The nice thing about this one is that his team ends up helping him through it, and the third line specifically, I know Nuge is on the second line, but Barrie and Yamamoto end up chipping in, and the depth of the Edmonton Oilers, you heard me say it, their depth players end up winning it for them and bailing out their goalie, Mike Smith, and that's what you want from a team. At the end of the day, for Edmonton, any team in the NHL, there are multiple ways to win a Stanley Cup. You don't have to do it through 4 complete lines. You don't have to do it through equal ice time. You don't have to do it through a hot goalie. You don't have to do it through size. You don't have to do it through scoring. You don't have to do it through defense. You have to do it on the backs of what your greatest strength is. Sometimes trying to make up for weaknesses or cover up weaknesses, whether you're a player or a team, is just a waste of time. Sometimes doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on your strength. If you can do one thing better than anybody else in the league, that is going to take you far. And Edmonton is showing this. And what does Edmonton do better than anybody in the league? It's the transition game. They make you pay the price when that puck turns over, whether it's in their zone or at center ice, and they bury it. What else does Edmonton do well? Power plays. What else does Edmonton do well? They feed off their leadership group and they believe. That's huge. Look, belief means a lot, but when you have confidence, and I have watched every game in this playoffs from every team, nobody has more belief in themselves right now than the Edmonton Oilers. Maybe the Tampa Bay Lightning. Maybe we'll end up seeing them in the finals. So back to the Twitter comment I read about McDavid. Is he elevating the team around him? You betcha. Is Jay Woodcroft got these guys fired up? You betcha. I love the fact that Woodcroft, since he's come in, has been over the shoulders of his players, letting them know what's going on, whispering that sweet nothing into their ears, taking an active role in coaching and allowing his team to be creative. And hey, you don't have to play. You've heard me say it. His depth, he's not playing it to the level he needs to, and that's okay. This is good bench management. There's nothing wrong with that. You guys think I think it's bad. You got to know what your strength is as a coach, and what he knows is that his top 6 is going to cause fits for any team out there, specifically Calgary. So you go ahead, you run your 2 lines, and then you feed in your third line. And what's your goal of your third line? Not to get scored on, not to take a penalty. They didn't do that at all this game, and you get a bonus goal, heroic goal from them at the end. That's exactly what you want. Play to your strengths. Woodcroft does that as a coach. He manages bench just fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If I was coach of the Oilers, I'd do the exact same thing. So would everybody else. Why wouldn't you give this line the big time minutes in the big time moments? Then you go ahead, you let your McLeod line, your Yamamoto line get you a bit of a rest in there. You get the Cassian line out there for 5-6 minutes a game. They handle it. You get out. McDavid stays healthy and rested. Draisaitl only looks like he's getting stronger. A high ankle sprain takes anywhere from 2 to 8 weeks, and you wouldn't think at this point in time that he's being bothered by it. Draisaitl is playing at an absolutely phenomenal level. Kane is chipping in where he needs to chip in. He's got the speed to play with McDavid, and Hyman's just a force. He was a force with the Leafs. He's a force with the Oilers. A lot of guys say, hey, I think he's underrated. I've always thought he was properly rated. He's played on the top 6. He's played on the top lines in 2 of the better teams in the world. He's known as one of the better defensive forwards in the world. He's got a $5.5 million contract coming up as a UFA. That's pretty good accolades for a guy. I mean, is he an $8-9 million a year guy? I don't know. You let me know. Is he playing that way? Let me know below in the comments. But I think he's appropriately paid at $5.5 million. And he adds a really nice compliment to the Draisaitl and McDavid connection. I know Kane plays on that line, but when you get caught on line changes and you're playing with the speed that the Oilers are, there's not a lot of whistles. And if there's not a lot of whistles, you're going to get some pairings of Hyman up there with McDavid and Dry at times. So those 4 end up being your powerhouses up front. Nugent-Hopkins, former first-round pick, obviously a good defensive forward, nice centerman in that sense. And Jesse Poolparty, number 4 overall pick. So your top 6 looks good. The McLeod and Fogle line does their job. The Cassian line does its job. The defensemen do their job. Nurse with a nice slash. That was a pretty big slash. Huge, actually. I don't mind it. I don't mind the net front play, but when the stick explodes and he does one of these, I never understand guys that do these. Like, what do you want the ref to call at that point? You exploded a stick in front of the net? Of course he's going to call it, but it doesn't end up hurting the Oilers. I just thought it was funny. So before we go over and break down some of the goals, Oiler fans, Flame fans, give a thumbs up to this video if you like the content you're seeing. Join the Discord. There's a ton of Oiler fans in the Discord. They're going banana sandwich in there. They're pumped up. Hit subscribe. Make sure you're able to follow us with the notification bell all the way to the Stanley Cup, because I am thinking right now that I don't see anyone stopping this juggernaut. That swagger is something else. It is something else. So subscribe, follow us all the way there. Back in my mind, I am kind of now cheering for an Edmonton Vasilevsky, Tampa Bay final. I want to see the best goalie play the best player in the world. That would be a heck of a finish to these playoffs. And if you want to go ahead and support the channel, we have a membership page down below. All you do is scroll down below, click the join button. You'll get a couple different levels if you want to support our executive suite, our upper bowl, and our lower bowl. Go ahead, pick your favorite one if you choose. You can be like these beauties here who get a shout out every video right now in the playoffs. We're growing ever so slightly. They get a little bit more attention. They're in the Discord. They get their own private chat levels. They even get a video made for them in the month. So join the coach's staff if you want to go there. And if not, we also have a super thanks down below, but the classic thumbs up is all we really need. Those are always free. Thanks for being here, Oiler Nation. Flames fans, Battle of Alberta continues. Let's break down some goals, shall we? 21 seconds into the third. Unfortunately, Markstrom's confidence just looks shattered at this point. He goes to play a puck. And those of you who are sitting here saying, just stay in your net. Again, you've heard me say this over and over on the channel. The goalie needs to play the puck. It is part of team strategy. It is what they're supposed to be doing. Markstrom just ends up letting this one get away from him. This was not a good play. And this is all confidence. This isn't a weird bounce or anything. This is just him being a little bit nervous at the beginning of the game. And that's because he was lit up for 6-5-4. The guy is freaking out at this point. Look, maybe he's not. Maybe he's cool as a cucumber. I can only interpret. But to me, this is the sign of a guy that just doesn't feel confident in his game, and he hasn't felt confident in his game against the Oilers all year based on his save percentage. So that puck ends up squeaking out here. He does his best Goldberg impression. This looks like something right out of the Mighty Ducks. I never thought I'd see a goalie diving like that. He ends up diving across the crease. The goal goes in. The Nuge has his first goal. Great forecheck by the Oilers. Free gift by the Flames out there. I just don't think Markstrom has been nearly good enough in this series to warrant any kind of praise. Hey, it's the way she goes. Not a great start for Calgary. Fantastic start for the Oilers. Oilers power play. If you're watching the Sportsnet broadcast, you saw Kevin Bieksa point this out. Look, I've never seen this before outside of Edmonton, and he pointed out that Draisaitl invented this move in practice. That's pretty awesome. You know, McDavid and Draisaitl probably spend a copious amount of time in practice coming up with nifty little dangles, one-timer shots. Take a look at McDavid here. He's going to go ahead and present his stick. Hyman's the man that's going to end up scoring the goal here. We all know he ends up outpowering Chris Tanev to score it, but you're going to watch. I mean, I've never seen this. I've never seen it. It's my first time seeing it live, so I never saw Draisaitl do it the first time. He ends up presenting his stick, and then there's this really weird, like, I'm just going to turn around, like absolutely set play here. I love this. This is just basically two kids playing pond hockey, thinking this through. I love the creativity of it. Turn around, present your backhand, and then go ahead and shoot. I mean, they know it's coming, I guess, now that they've seen it and they've broken down the tape, but nobody would practice or prepare for this. Nobody's thinking of this. So I love the creativity. He ends up putting it in on net. And then what you see is Hyman just out-battled Tanev here for a puck. Hyman is a big, strong man. He ends up forcing it into the net. And then take a look at Tanev's shoulder here. Like, that isn't good. He's going to wince. He's going to go off. I applaud him for gritting it out, but I can tell you, if he's got shoulder or arm problems, he is going to be hyper ineffective in front of the net. So good for him for getting in there and battling through, but geez, I can feel the pain wincing through on him. Great goal by Hyman. Amazing job by Draisaitl McDavid. McDavid on an amazing forecheck here. Look, I mean, he's strong on his skates. He basically gets slew-footed at this point. If it's not a slew foot, it's a hold. Yeah, it's not a slew foot, but it looks like that in the way he's falling. There's no feet around him. McDavid ends up going down. Everybody eats boards. These are really dangerous. Guys get up from it all the time, but at the end of the day, I've seen guys break legs on this. Backs, concussions. It's just not what you want. That forecheck, though, causes confusion, and it's going to allow the Edmonton Oilers to outnumber them down below. Remember, this game is all about 2-on-1s, and when you're in a 3-on-2, that's just a fancy way of saying 2-on-1 because two players cancel each other out, and then you end up with the one guy left alone. That's going to allow Edmonton to come out with the puck here. Evander Kane is going to end up separating himself. He gets open, and then he just gets a little bit of a floater shot here, and this is not a good save by Markstrom. Great work by the Oilers all around. Little bit of a weak save by Mark, but hey, it goes in regardless. Kane scores. They're up 3-0, and that is just a dominant first period by the Oilers. And again, from that angle, I mean, you get some confidence here. Markstrom's come out in front of the crease. That's where he needs to go. But again, I've been saying all series, he's been shrinking. He's getting way too small. He's trying to cover the bottom of the net. To me, he just looks and feels nervous every time a shot's coming in. He's on the big stage and it's eating him alive. He gets small and it ends up beating him technically on the short side at that point. Like, that's tough. You need your goalies to make those saves. And Calgary fans, if you haven't been following us all series, for those of you that, you're Markstrom defenders, and that's great. He's your goalie. It's your team. I totally get it. But when you watch Vasilevsky, when you watch Igor Shesterkin over there in the East, they're making these saves. And the other thing that they're doing for their team is they're stealing games. Shesterkin did it, not this game, but game 3 for the New York Rangers. Carolina, for all intents and purposes, outplayed the New York Rangers in game 3, but Shesterkin made saves that he shouldn't have made. You're not going to win a Stanley Cup or 16 games on the back of a hot goalie alone. You need more than just a hot goalie. But Shesterkin and Vasilevsky have proven. Vasilevsky 2 against Florida, 2 against Toronto. Shesterkin 1 against Carolina. Stolen games. Games where they are outplayed and the goalie made all the difference in the world. When you have an elite goalie, and Markstrom, he's paid in the same realm as these guys. He's paid to be similar to these guys. He's not making the first save, never mind the second and the third save. So you hear it. A goalie is just supposed to make the first save. You want a goalie that's just doing his job, he makes save 1. You want a goalie that's above and beyond, he makes save 2. You want an elite goalie, you want a Vasilevsky in net, you want a Shesterkin in net. Not only do they make save 3 more often than they should, not every time, but when they should, but they make the saves that they have to make post-to-post diving plays, and this inspires confidence to your team. Why does Edmonton have such a swagger? Because when Mike Smith is on, he's hot. He had the best April of any goalie in the NHL. He was number 1. When he's on the downward swing, it isn't good. But when he's confident, he has that greatness he had back in his late 20s, early 30s, and he becomes a wall. Edmonton gains confidence off of it. Everything starts rolling and you start scoring. So when McDavid or Edmonton is scoring, it's giving Smith confidence. When Smith is making saves, it's going ahead and it's giving Edmonton players confidence, and the cycle continues. When you are Calgary, you need to get fired up when your goalie gets hot and starts to make some saves. And Markstrom just hasn't done that at all this series. So his team has had moments of playing well in front of him and battling for him. But if I'm a teammate on Markstrom, quietly, if I'm a defenseman on Calgary, and defenseman, let me know if you feel this way. Every time a goal goes in, I'm hanging my head going, fucking Markstrom. Like, you're not thrilled with it. You're expecting your teammate to step in. You're bleeding, you're playing, you're sweating. Look, you give him the benefit of the doubt up to a point. But when this is happening over and over again, eventually you just hang your head and go, oh, I'm not getting any confidence from my goalie right now. And that bleeds into the rest of the team. So luckily Calgary is able to make a comeback, but hopefully that gives you a little bit more perspective on why I'm so hard on Markstrom at this point in time. You get the bag of cash, you got to have the performance, and he has not had the performance against the Edmonton Oilers yet this series or this year. Lindholm's goal to get him on the board and start that confidence train for Calgary. It's huge when your first line can score. It's huge when your power play can score. Nothing wrong by Mike Smith here. Nothing wrong by the kill. This is just Lindholm being amazing. Not much to break down. He ends up toe dragging a shot, sniping it top corner. He freezes Smith out on that one. At the end of the day, I mean, everybody ends up going down on one knee. And when you go down on one knee, sometimes that can be good. I mean, you see it all the time. That's why players do it, because it is good. But sometimes it can also be bad. Standing up and blocking can be the right way as well, too. So yes, you want sticks and lanes, but Lindholm is a very good player. He waits till he has guys down on a knee. He waits till Markstrom's down on a knee. Then he just walks it over, slight little angle change, and he's going to end up shooting top shelf. This is just a really good goal scoring effort by Lindholm. If you want to go ahead and defend about this, you have to be a little more aggressive, but sometimes offensive players are just beautiful, and I think that's all this is. So I don't know if there's anything Edmonton can actually end up doing in this one. Everyone goes down to block it, but you can't move. You can see him there. Nurse is trapped. You end up sniping it top shelf. Great goal by Lindholm. Archibald causing a fast turnover here for Edmonton, and Backlund's going to go ahead and put them on the board. Remember, you make a turnover in the zone, they're going to do their best Edmonton Oiler impersonation here, the Calgary Flames are. They end up picking up that puck, and when they pick up that puck, little bit of slight interference there. We talk about this all the time in the playoffs. You got to cheat within the rules. So is that interference? Yes. Is that a little bit of a pick? Yes. Is it going to get called in the playoffs? Probably never. So it's a good little veteran maneuver there in order to free themselves up. I mean, he ends up eating it on the boards. easily could have been a call, but in the playoffs, probably not going to happen. So that's what we call a wily vet. They end up springing loose. Then you end up with a 2-on-2. What you want to do here is Edmonton actually has to step up and play it. So Duncan Keith, he's a lead. He's been around forever and a day. He's got a few Stanley Cups to his name. He knows it. You want to actually be able to pinch him off here at the blue line, but unfortunately, Keith just gets outskilled. You can see that there when a defenseman starts crossing over like that, they're in trouble. You actually want to be doing C cuts. So any of you dads out there that are coaching the young kids and you're starting to teach them to cross at center ice, I see 6 and 7-year-olds being told that all the time. That is wrong. It's one crossover, singular, and then you want to be doing C cuts so you can hold your line. The other thing that Keith is stuck here is you actually want to be over here on this dot, and you want to be going from dot to close post. That's the line you want your defenseman taking. So Keith actually gets caught outside the dot. It's not where you want to be. He gets caught crossing over too much, and he's crossing over too much because he knows he's caught outside. He wants to get back to the inside. So go ahead, cross, and now he's going to have to cross again. So he's gone to the point we're talking about, and it's this dot all the way back here to that post. That's the path with C cuts in a straight line that you want your defenseman taking. Your partner's doing great. That's exactly what you want to do, be in the middle of the ice. So on a 2-on-2, stand him up at the blue. He couldn't stand him up because he's caught inside out. Flat-footed is what the term would be. He's on the outside of the dot, which is where you don't want to be. And then that just allows Backlund to end up opening up. And he opens up, he beats him. Smitty lets one go through there. Keith could have definitely prevented it. Not a great goal by Smitty, to be honest. I think he could have made that save, but at the end of the day, nice turnover by Calgary. Lots of individual skills and tactics to talk about there, but that's just Backlund beating Keith one-on-one. Mike Smith, nifty little move here. He knows he can't play the puck in the trapezoid. I think the trapezoid is stupid. Let me know what you think down below about the trapezoid. I had no problem with the Brodeur and Waz of the world playing it. And people who think the dead puck era is what they call it had less goals. I don't know. I've gone ahead. I've looked at the data. The goals seem to be of just as high then as they were at any other time other than the modern era. The last 2 or 3 years, goal counts have been skyrocketing. We all love it. But before the skyrocketing goal count, it felt like they were pretty flat. Smitty ends up doing genius things, plays it around the boards. That's great. That is how you want to do it. And it's a perfect breakout. Look, they're gonzo. You got to love it. That what Mike Smith can do with the puck is absolutely elite. He's an older goaltender. This is an art form that's dying in younger goaltenders these days. Edmonton's gonzo. It gives them the opportunity to change, use their speed, exploit it. It's just a little puck fumble here. No big deal. They call this crap happens. Nothing to worry about. And then just a little slap shot. Oh boy, it ends up going down the ice and it beats Smith. Not good, Mike. Not good, but forgiven. You win the game. You can see the angle as it comes in here. It just beats him. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of funny if you're a Calgary fan. If you're an Edmonton fan, you can probably laugh about it now. But to be honest, don't be too hard on the guy. This actually has happened to a lot of goalies. There's highlight reels of this. It happens once in a blue moon. It's going to happen again to another goalie. I know the Mike Smith memes can get rolling, but those memes are shut up immediately by the next goal we're going to take a look at. Beautiful zone entry here by Edmonton. I love it. We call this a cross ice dump in because it ends up coming over to there into the short circle here. That is what you want to do. Hyman on the forecheck. He is an absolute monster on forechecks. Monster of a man, really. Ends up pushing him out of the way. Just awesome. Kailer Yamamoto ends up picking up the puck, using his skill here. He finds Tyson Barrie pinching in because, of course, Tyson Barrie's pinching in. He's an offensive defenseman. It's what you want. The Nuge goes to the front of the net, and the Nuge ends up battling through Markstrom there. Beautiful goal. That's all she wrote. 3:27 left. And it's all down to a high sticking call that ends up knocking out a couple chiclets. Actually, I don't know if his teeth are knocked out. It feels like they are because there was a lot of blood. But let me know if his teeth ended up falling out. It's not a good feeling. These 5 ended up coming out for me once due to a stick. It's not ideal. It does hurt, but you get over it. Teeth go back in. Stanley Cups last forever. So really good job there by Edmonton. That's the game-winning goal. Kane puts it home with the empty netter, and Edmonton takes that commanding 3-1 series lead. Can Calgary come back? For sure. We've seen teams come back down 3-0 before, never mind 3-1, but the odds are very low. The odds are heavily in Edmonton's favor now. Calgary is going to have to find something they haven't found in this series. Even in game 1, you don't want to win games racing to 6 with the Edmonton Oilers or 4 or 5. When you're in a scoring race against the Oilers, that is a very tough clip to keep up. in order to beat the Oilers, if you're the Calgary Flames, you would have just had to play your game, but you're not playing your game. You're being upset and you're worrying about a couple guys on the ice. You know what? So what? McDavid gets 2 on you. So what? McDavid gets 3 on you. If you would play your game, if you were Calgary, if Markstrom would have a little bit of confidence in net, if Sutter would coach them to the level that they were being coached before, and I don't think Sutter's changed. Like, let's be honest, it's not like the coach goes into playoffs and the coach has an off night. The coach is there to build the habits and mentality for players going into the playoffs, and his Sutterism going into these playoffs. He said, hey, when they asked about Gaudreau, Lindholm, and Tkachuk, his response, they're a great regular season line. Well, that should tell you everything you need to know about his opinion of how they're playing right now in the playoffs. He doesn't think they're playing good enough. It's not like he can play for them. So I do put this one on the players. I put this one on the goalie. They're not doing what they need to do in order to get through. They're allowing Edmonton to get in their head. They're allowing Edmonton to outskill them at all ends of the ice. It's not like Calgary's not talented. They're just getting beat. That's the end of it. They're beating themselves, but more importantly, Edmonton's beating them. If anyone wants to say this was Calgary's series to lose, it's not. Edmonton has turned them inside out. This has been quite the series, quite the game to watch. So we'll see what happens in 5. I suspect Edmonton's going to take this one going into Calgary, but we never know. The Sea of Red might be able to turn it around. Edmonton just looks like an unstoppable force right now. And even when Mike Smith falters here and ends up at the bottom of the roller coaster for 2 goals, Calgary couldn't take advantage, and that is going to give Edmonton a massive amount of confidence going into this one. So can the Edmonton Oilers be stopped? Oiler Nation will say no, and I'm starting to think I might believe them. See you in the next one.